Okay, it is Wednesday, March 19th. We've got a late start today. We begin with MLB. We begin our MLB season previews today. I'm very excited for that. We got the AL East. First four March Madness was yesterday. This is the early game podcast. Listen to the show in the mornings on your commute. Not today, where it's a little bit of a late start. Whenever and wherever, so you can be part of today's sports conversations. Let's go. Okay, so yesterday was the first game of the Major League Baseball season. The Dodgers won it 4-1. Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitched for the Dodgers. So this was the Tokyo series. I discussed it yesterday. It was Yamamoto against Shota Imanaga. So we got the Japanese pitching matchup between the Dodgers and the Cubs. Imanaga actually gave up less runs, gave up 0 over 4. Yamamoto gave up 1 over 5. Dodgers had 4 runs on 7 hits. And so the Dodgers start out kind of like we thought. The Cubs are not, a top team in the National League, and the Dodgers took care of business against Chicago in Game 1 of the 2025 MLB season. And so, moving on to today, it was a 2-game series in Tokyo, and we really got to see Japanese players on display. So the Dodgers threw out today Roki Sasaki. So he made his Major League debut in his home country against the Cubs. That was against Justin Steele. Dodgers won 6-3. Now, the thing about Sasaki is, I'm watching this guy, right? I actually, the reason why this is late is because I overslept this morning and I didn't have time to record until 10. And so the way it works is I have to basically hit a window to record. And if I oversleep, I can't hit the window. So I was up at 6 o'clock. I turned on the Dodgers game. I'm watching Sasaki and I'm like, this guy, he's fantastic. He's got fantastic stuff. But this guy, I hate to say it, he is destined for Tommy John surgery. I mean, just the way he throws, how hard he throws, it is stressful on his elbow. It's stressful on his arm. The way he pitches is very stressful. He screams a future Tommy John candidate. And, it's very kind of old. He kind of pitches like old school in a way, old school in the sense that 10 years ago, this was how everybody wanted their pitchers throwing. Now you kind of see less and less of it where you're just throwing as hard as you can. I mean, look, he's pitching in front of his home country. His first 3 pitches were over 100 miles per hour. So he obviously was amped up. So we'll see if the Dodgers try to kind of temper how he's throwing the baseball, but I'd be nervous. If I was a Dodgers fan, I'd be nervous. It's exciting. Don't get me wrong. I got to watch Jacob deGrom pitch, and it's exciting to watch a hard thrower. But the body, it wears down on the body. And so we'll see. We'll see how he goes at 5 walks. So his command was off. That will improve, I'm sure. Shohei Ohtani hit his first home run of the season, so he's got 1 on the board. And the Dodgers won again 6-3. Look, the Dodgers are an elite baseball team, an all-time elite baseball team. And they are going to be an issue for other teams. They're going to be an issue for the National League, and they're going to be an issue in Major League Baseball. Okay, let's move on. So to continue yesterday's slate, March Madness first 4. We had the first 2 games of the first 4 yesterday. Alabama State took on St. Francis. And this was fun game. Everyone was bugging out at the end. Alabama State hit this game-winning shot. They broke a 68 tie. And the play, everybody freaking out, like saying, like, this is March, right? This is exactly what's great about March Madness. The play, though, I don't know, like, the reaction to that play was so overblown. It was a Hail Mary chuck that nobody caught, and Amar Knox just picked it up and hit a layup. I didn't see it live, right? So I'm going through X, I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I see like, oh, what a shot, this is March, what a shot. What a letdown. That was the play everyone's bugging out about. So Alabama State moves on. They're the first of the first four teams. And then UNC took on San Diego State. And obviously, UNC is under a lot of scrutiny here for the fact that they even made the tournament. a lot of people thought that Indiana or West Virginia should have made it over them. West Virginia's governor even is putting on like this whole hoopla about the fact that they did not make it in the tournament. And so UNC makes it, and everyone's saying that they didn't deserve it, but they whoop San Diego State. It was two different leagues there. They whooped San Diego State 95-68. RJ Davis was 6 for 6 from downtown. And so UNC now is officially in the tournament. Okay, so that was yesterday's slate presented by nobody, unless you want to sponsor this thing. Let's move on to the NFL. And this was super fascinating. Cam Heyward was doing some media, and he had this quote in regards to the Steelers' pursuit of Aaron Rodgers. And the quote went like this: "I ain't doing the darkness retreat. I don't need any of that crap. Either you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or you don't. That's simple. That's the pitch. If you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to be a part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin off my back." This is the right attitude. This is the right approach to take as a leader on a team that's pursuing Aaron Rodgers. The approach to take is Aaron Rodgers cannot come in and be not just the alpha. He wasn't just the alpha in the Jets locker room. He was a cancerous alpha. His pull, his way, the way he was able to command things to be done in New York cannot be done again wherever he goes. And this is a great sign if you're a Steelers fan and they end up getting Aaron Rodgers. There will be a hierarchy above Aaron Rodgers. And not only will there be a hierarchy because I think Mike Tomlin will, I think it's pretty obvious Mike Tomlin will demand a level of respect that Robert Saleh was never able to get from Rodgers in New York. But even other players on the team are demanding respect and demanding that he is not held to a higher standard, that Rodgers is not held to a higher standard than other players and other leaders on the team. Now, one interesting thing that came out this morning that maybe I'll dive a little deeper into tomorrow is that the Vikings have kind of taken like a step back here in the pursuit of Rodgers. They said they're not going to commit to him long term right now. Maybe if he remains available, they'll kick that can down the road. But it seems to be like right now the two teams that are the most heavily in on most heavily in on Aaron Rodgers are the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. And so maybe we will break that down, which makes the most sense on tomorrow's show. But for now, those are the two teams that are seemingly the finalists for Aaron Rodgers' services. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that tomorrow. Okay, let's move on here. And so here, what we're going to do over the next couple of days is we are going to do division previews. So we start here with AL East today. We'll do 6 previews, 6 division previews. That'll take us to Wednesday of next week, and then Thursday, real opening day. By the way, they're not even calling this Tokyo series, not even calling it opening day. So it's like opening. It's not even like an opening series. They're staying away from the opening. I don't know what you're going to call it, but opening day we will go into award predictions and maybe a World Series playoff prediction, World Series winner prediction at that juncture. But for now, I will predict division winners, and I will dive into the divisions. And today we're going to hit on the AL East. And we'll start with the Blue Jays, the Toronto Blue Jays. They finished last season 74-88. This is a team that is demanding respect, trying to build up their appearance to free agents. And they went so hard after Shohei Ohtani last year. They went so hard after Juan Soto this year, and they just cannot land that big fish. And what they ended up doing this offseason was getting a bunch of smaller fishes. So they ended up with Anthony Santander. They end up with Max Scherzer. They end up with Jeff Hoffman. They trade for Andres Jimenez. And they didn't really lose anybody from last year. So they were in last place. They were 14 games under 500 last year, but now they come in to this season with some additions and not really losing anybody. And so this is according to MLB.com. Their projected lineup is Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero, Santander, George Springer, Dalton Varsho, Andres Jimenez, Alejandro Kirk, Will Wagner, and Ernie Clement. And in a weak American League, call a spade, a weak American League, there will be probably more than 2 playoff teams coming out of this division. And so the question here is this lineup good enough to compete with the other teams in this division there, because they're going to see each other the most. And so can this lineup hold its weight against the other big guns in this lineup, in this division? And it's kind of the same thing with the rotation. Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, Bowden Francis. And so you have to ask yourself, can Jose Barrios get back to the form he was a few years ago? Can Kevin Gausman get back to the form he was a few years ago? And can Chris Bassett, frankly, and Max Scherzer? So you're talking about, for the Blue Jays season to go well, and for them to bounce back this season, you need 4 of these guys to have bounce back years. And frankly, you need Max Scherzer to give you you're not going to get 30 starts out of Max Scherzer. You just won't. Can you get 20, 25 starts? How much is Max Scherzer really going to provide for you, and how good is their depth going to be to fill out rotation when inevitably he is not able to pitch the whole season? I like this team, and I think that their ceiling is very high. A lot remains to be answered in terms of the rotation, and obviously George Springer, Santander needs to be as good as he was with the Orioles, and George Springer really needs to bounce back if this team wants to make a playoff run. Okay, next we will talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. They went 80-82 last year, and they in very Tampa Bay Rays fashion, they did not do much this past offseason. They added Hassan Kim. They lost Jose Siri. So not much change from last year. Yandy Diaz would probably lead off for them. Brandon Lowe behind him. Junior Caminero at third base. Josh Lowe in right field. Christopher Morel in left field. Remember, they brought him in from the Cubs. Jonathan Aranda as the DH, Danny Jansen as the catcher, Johnny DeLuca in center field. He would take over for Jose Siri, and Taylor Walls is supposed to be the opening day shortstop. And so again, it seems like most years the Rays are able to outperform their expectation. Last year they had a bad season, uncharacteristically. I actually do expect them to have a much better year this year. And one of the reasons why I think they will is because I think their pitching is going to be great. So they have Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, Ryan Pepiot, Shane Baz, and Taj Bradley. So that is a nice 1 through 5. Underrated guys, but this is exactly what the Rays do. They will wear you down with starting pitching. They will wear you down with relief pitching, and they'll do just enough offensively. And it's not like they don't have pieces offensively. I mean, Yandy Diaz is a top first baseman in baseball. Josh Lowe's not so, shabby himself. And so you could kind of take it from 2 different angles. Angle 1 is you always expect the Rays to outperform their expectations. They will overperform to what you think they can do going into the season in most years. And that's because of management. That's because of their operational excellence as an organization. The question is this going to be another one of those years? Or are they just too shorthanded, especially offensively? They traded away some pieces last year. And so what does this look like for them? Are they the odd man out in a division? And as I was saying about angles, the second angle is, are they the odd man out in a strong division where there are possibly all 5 teams going to be in that wild card race. And I think the Rays would probably be the odd man out from a purely on paper perspective. But again, they always overperform what it says on paper for the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay, let's move on here to the next team I wanted to discuss, and that is the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox finished last year 81-81, so they also went super hard on Soto. They missed out, and I actually thought that they had a good shot in him. I thought that all the rumors about David Ortiz being very involved, but they end up missing out on him. And I suspect Juan Soto said it, or it came out a couple weeks ago that the Mets weren't even the top offer to Juan Soto. I suspect that the Red Sox might have been a higher offer than the Yankees and the Mets. That maybe the highest offer was from them, or maybe it was from the Blue Jays. But to compensate for not adding Soto, they end up adding Alex Bregman. And what was funny about that move was I felt like none of the teams wanted to be the team to add Bregman instead of Soto. Like, they didn't want to be that the constellation was Bregman over Soto, but the Red Sox ended up doing it. And funny enough, that it was the Red Sox because they already had a third baseman, and they have a logjam at first base. So this was interesting. Rafael Devers initially came out and said that he did not want to DH. That third base is his position. But now if we look at this lineup, we look at what MLB.com is predicting for their lineup. Jarren Duran in left field 1. I love that. Rafael Devers, DH. I love that. Bregman is going to play third base. Tristan Casas is the first baseman. He is a top prospect. And by the way, we'll get back into the prospects in a second, but the lineup then kind of takes a bit of a dip after that. So Trevor Story bats 5th in this projected lineup. And look, if Trevor Story can get any semblance of what he used to be, that would be fantastic for them, and they could really use that. But this is kind of where there's like a nosedive in the lineup. So Wilyer Abreu in right field at 6, Connor Wong catching, Christian Campbell at second base, and Ceddanne Rafaela playing center field. And so, yes, there is a drop-off, but a little caveat to the drop-off is the Red Sox have some fantastic prospects, Casas being one of them. And so if they, this might be the year that they're kind of installing those prospects into their lineup, kind of like what the Orioles have been doing over the last 2 years. And so this lineup is extremely top-heavy, will hurt you from the top. Duran, Devers, Bregman will automatically hurt you. It's a tough 1 through 3. After that, it lines up a little bit, and we'll see if any of those guys, including Casas or Story, can step up here for the Red Sox. Now, their rotation possibly got the biggest upgrade of any team, and that was Garrett Crochet. He slots into as their ace. Tanner Houck is their number 2 pitcher. Walker Buehler, 3. Richard Fitz, 4. And Quinn Priester, 5. And so, again, the theme with the Red Sox this year is top-heavy. Now, if they can sneak their way into the playoffs, you can afford to have a top-heavy rotation, right? Because you're only throwing 3 or 4 pitchers out there. So if you have Crochet, Houck, and Buehler, and Buehler bounces back this year, then you're cooking. The question is, can they make it there? And we'll get to the Yankees in a second, or not in a second. We'll do the Orioles, then the Yankees. But is this Red Sox team, who I do think is a top contender for the AL East, are they good enough to have a better regular season record than even this iteration of the Yankees? And we'll explore that in a couple minutes. But first, we head to the Orioles, and they last year had a golden opportunity to overtake the Yankees when the Yankees were plagued with injuries, but they just were never able to give themselves a nice sizable lead. And so they end up finishing the season 91-71. Last year, they got a wild card spot. They get bounced in the wild card round, and it was disappointing. This is a good young team that really excites me. And the reason why they excite me is because their lineup is disgustingly good and has a disgustingly high ceiling. So Gunnar Henderson, batting, according to MLB.com, would be playing shortstop, leading off. Jordan Westberg playing third base. Adley Rutschman playing catcher, batting third. Colton Cowser in right field. Tyler O'Neill, which is a very underrated addition for them, to replace Anthony Santander in left field. Ryan O'Hearn would be batting DH, Ryan Mountcastle at first base, Jackson Holliday in the 8 slot at second base, and Cedric Mullins in center field, batting ninth. And frankly, there is no easy out in this lineup. This is going to be one of the best lineups, not just in the American League, but I think in baseball. And I think a lot of these young guys are going to take steps forward. Gunnar Henderson is a stud. I think Jackson Holliday has a great season. And this is going to be a prolific lineup. I truly do believe that. If we're going to talk about like most underrated lineups, it's the Orioles. It is a tough 1 through 9. Not many teams can boast that. The issue with the Orioles is that as good as their lineup is, their rotation is very shoddy. So Zach Eflin is their number 1 starter. Charlie Morton, number 2. Dean Kramer, number 3. Tomoyuki Sagano, 4. And Cade Pavich, 5. And so I would say, frankly, look, Zach Eflin can be great. Charlie Morton will be Dean Kramer has a high ceiling. He's been good. He's been bad. But for me, if they can get good production out of MPB veteran Tomoyuki Sagano, that could be a difference maker for them. So say he is able to pitch at a caliber where he would be starting a playoff game, now we're kind of talking about them back in that conversation for the American League East. But I think that as good as their lineup is, their rotation is bad enough that I do not think that they are considered more of a favorite heading into this year than the team we're about to talk about, which is the New York Yankees. And so they went 94-68 last year. They won the AL East. Obviously, they lost in the World Series to the Dodgers, and they had significant changes. Offseason, they got outbid by the Mets for Juan Soto. I will say that as many times as I possibly can over the next couple of days. They made significant adds. They added Cody Bellinger. They added Paul Goldschmidt. They obviously had Jazz Chisholm in the middle of the season last year. And the biggest addition they had was starting pitcher Max Fried. And so kind of in this offseason, you were saying, well, they have Stanton, they have Judge. They should be able to produce offensively still. And then they make these adds, Goldschmidt and Bellinger. And so the issue was that everyone knew Stanton was, not going to make it. He is as injury plagued of a player there is in Major League Baseball. And so he goes down with 2 elbow injuries a couple weeks ago. We've discussed that a bunch of times. And so now the lineup looks something like this. Austin Wells leading off. I don't know how I feel about that. Aaron Judge in right field. Cody Bellinger in center field. Paul Goldschmidt batting cleanup. Jazz Chisholm batting 5th. Jason Dominguez in left field. Ben Rice at DH. So he would be taking over for Stanton. Volpe at shortstop. And Oswaldo Cabrera at third base. And so I've brought this up before on the show, but the question is, can Ben Rice be good enough as the DH? And not just that, but is the AL so bad? Is the AL so bad? If you want to say that the AL is so bad, what's the floor for the Yankees to still be the best team in the American League, right? So how bad can they be yet still be the best team in the American League? And every day we get more and more injury news from them. And just regarding the lineup, the fact that you have Ben Rice as your DH and Oswaldo Cabrera playing third base for who knows how long, it's disheartening. And Paul Goldschmidt already had some injury concern. I don't know what Austin Wells is going to be like as a leadoff hitter. Who knows what Jason Dominguez will be. He has a high ceiling, don't get me wrong. He's going to be an issue in the field. We've seen that already in left field. He has had major issues in spring training, and that could change, but he has had major issues. Now, the rotation is even more of an issue. They have Garrett Cole is out for the year, so no Garrett Cole this year. Luis Gil is out till they're saying probably around the All-Star break. And then they said Clark Schmidt also had shoulder soreness. So the rotation they put on MLB.com was Rodon will be your number 1. Carlos Rodon, number 1. Max Fried, number 2. Marcus Stroman's your 3. They were trying to trade Marcus Stroman for the longest time. Will Warren is your 4. And Clark Schmidt, who knows if he's going to be healthy, is your 5. And so, again, in terms of the Yankees, the question is, if the AL is so bad, how bad can they be to still be the best team in the AL with Aaron Judge and with the dogs that they have? And with all that being said, the team that I think will win this division this year, and the team that I feel the best about are the Boston Red Sox. I love the crochet move. I like how they're folding their young players in, and I think that they ultimately will win the AL East. I think that's going to be a very close division. Decided within a couple games. I think that they will get at least two, maybe three wild card spots. The Yankees will finish second. The Orioles will finish third. Again, I think it'll be very close along the top. I think that the Blue Jays will be around a 500 team. And you know what? Let's say the Rays. I think the Rays and the Blue Jays will be around a 500 team, both 500 teams. And that's kind of how the AL East will go. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Follow on X, follow on Spotify. Have a wonderful day.